Oh hey, welcome back, and welcome to the basement. Today I'm going to go over the last assignment sheet that I will show you as an introduction to a unit for this year. I think I have one more assignment sheet probably to show you for whatever final project we do this year, and I'm sure Mr. Gum will have a few more assignment sheets to share this year, but we really are getting close. This is the last start of the unit that I, Mr. Honert, will ever do for the American Dream. So you're going to see a lot of references to how crazy that is, because for many of you, you have been with me now for nearly 2 years. So let's go take a look at Classroom and check out what we'll be checking out today. Today, I am introducing you to the unit and telling you that it's time to choose a text to read. All work today, including this video, is in the new unit, Freedom to Read. This assignment, 6.1, choose a text to read, that is due this Thursday. While we are talking about due dates, it is important to note that down here, the Other Westmore card game, its final due date is May 12th. That's a week from tomorrow. The description has been updated to show all the steps that we should have moved ourselves through by now. So, I will be checking in on that document later, as there's still plenty of time with a week from tomorrow to get it done, but that's really the end of that unit. So let's talk about this unit. The assignment sheet that will be attached to this unit's first assignment will be the name of the unit, Freedom to Read 2020. Bear with me while I go ahead and read the assignment sheet to you. You can open up the assignment sheet so you can read along with me. Keep me in 2 tabs or have me playing in the background while you read the assignment sheet in the foreground. We are 1 unit away from the end of a 2-year humanities journey. After completing our exploration of the foundations of democracy in Roots of Thought, and another year studying the effectiveness of the American experiment in the American Dream, we are about to head out as the embodiment of that which these 2 courses study. What kind of world do we see around us? As young, enlightened Americans, what role do we have to play? We each individually have the freedom to choose how to analyze the facts and decide what, if any, action we will take. Your last action. To honor that freedom, our last unit will be one of choice. What will you choose to study? What will you choose to read? The only choice we may not take is the choice to study nothing, or to read nothing. We are very close to that complete freedom, but I dare us to look at the students we were when Antigone and ancient Greece were placed in front of us and tell ourselves that we have done nothing between that first day and now. I dare us to read together one more time. This is why your book choice will be really important. You don't want to take a dart and throw it, and whatever the point jams into is the title of the book that you're going to read, because you might not like that text. And if you don't like a text, you're not going to read it. And you have gone through a lot of texts that you have not liked. From Antigone to Fahrenheit 451, to the graphic novel of Fahrenheit 451, to whichever novel you chose last year out of 3 limited choices, to Great Gatsby, our short stories, Death of a Salesman, The Other Westmore, the things they carried. You've been told to read a lot of things. And so when I tell you to read this one, this is your chance to say, you're telling me to read something, but I'm choosing something that I will read. There are still some points to get here. There are still some reading comprehension to show me. Why not choose a text that will allow you to do that? Don't just pick any text and assume that you can make it work, or to fake it one more time. The idea of this unit is the exact opposite. That's what I was talking about when I said I dare you to tell the student that was yourself at the beginning of Roots of Thought, that you haven't grown as a reader. That student that you were maybe didn't want to try Antigone, but the student that you are now, maybe you could, right? So honor that student and choose something that who you are will take a shot at it. A good, honest shot at reading. One more time with me, with us. So there's going to be a Google form also linked, and you're going to tell me what text you want to read. There is a lot of freedom, but here are some parameters that your book must match, that your text must match. It must be an American author or an American setting. This is an American literature course, so there should be some American ideals present in the text. Written between 1979 and the present. This covers a match between what we'll be studying in history, which is late 20th century and 21st century current events. So we don't want to dig back. Plus, the further you dig back, the less language you will recognize. Not assigned in any other Bedford School district curriculum. Some exceptions granted. So here's the deal here. I know what grade that you read Night. I know how much Steinbeck has already been assigned. Steinbeck wouldn't be late 1979 anyways. But the point being that I have a list of all the texts that are already in the district. So this is also not an opportunity to go back and try to sneak a text past me that you already have done all the reading for with another teacher, and you'll use those assignments again to mock up reading. Not that anyone was planning that, but it's not in the spirit of what this is to be. This is to be a new text. Now, exceptions granted. I will first definitely listen to any text that you choose that is taught in any of our 10th, 11th, 12th, or even 9th grade courses that you won't get a chance to read because you never took a course or never planned to take a course. So if you don't plan to go on to global studies, for example, and you want to read The Kite Runner, maybe you could justify that. No American angles there, but that was the first example that came to my head. Same thing with even IB English. Now, those texts are going to be well and beyond a middle school reading level, and some may argue that they're beyond a high school reading level. But if your interest level is there, you've fought through some pretty difficult texts this year. So, point being, if there is another high school text that is taught, tell me why you want to read that text even though it's taught in another course, and because you haven't read it before, that would still count. So I had to put that exception in there. The other exception that I would consider, and it's not even on the assignment sheet because it's definitely an exception to this rule, is if there is a text in your past that you want to try again now that you are an enlightened reader. You're going to have to justify it, but I will listen. And no promises. And that goes for all these choices. Don't assume just because you've chosen it that I'm going to say yes. Have some backups in mind. I keep saying text and not book, and that's important because text, as we have studied many times, has a pretty broad definition. All I ask is that it has a significant depth and complexity so that you actually have to read it. Movies are texts. Documentaries are texts. Those are great things, but they're just not going to work for 4 reading assignments. I don't want to take away that you should go read those, quote unquote, read those texts as well, but they don't work with a reading calendar. So here's what you can do. A poetry collection, curated, that means it should be a bunch of poems on a theme or a bunch of poems that are all by one author, edited by a professional publisher or editor, so that it's not just point, click, and picking a whole bunch of poems or just a whole bunch of poems that you Google for yourself. It should be curated, which means chosen. Multiple short stories of a single author. If you think of our Salinger unit, we did 3 short stories. That was appropriate. A play, a novella, a novel, a graphic novel, a series of long-form essays, a memoir, a biography or autobiography, a self-help guide, that's nonfiction, or that text that you have always wanted to read that somehow defies all the above categorizations. In other words, maybe you've never had the time because school keeps you busy and it's something that you do want to read, even though you struggle to read or it's slow for you to read or you don't like reading anything else. There's this one thing that you're like, I've wanted to sit down and read this thing, but I've never been given the time. Well, if it matches the rest of these parameters, this could be the time. Again, write that in your justification, and I'll consider it. And speaking of justification, it should be pre-approved before reading begins. It should be pre-approved before any purchasing begins. There'll be some hints to that in the Google form that maybe some of you will consider purchasing this as an ebook. Please don't do that until you know that I say, yes, you can read this text, because that could get sticky if you spent money and I say, I don't want you to read that. I want you to choose something else. That will feel unfair, even though I just said, don't start reading until I say you can. You will also want to consider the calendar. When you're choosing the text to read, consider that the unit will be broken into 4 reading assignments and completed by the last day of school. Do not choose a text that is too lengthy to complete or one that is too brief to generate quality responses to it. Essentially, percentage-wise, 4 makes sense because you will do a quarter of the text each time. 25, 50, 75, done with the text by May 27th. That's less than a month from now. You're going to have a final project, and the final project will be in some way referencing this text. Lots of things to be determined, including each time that you get through that quarter of the text, you're going to respond maybe with some writing, maybe with some discussion. The response types are all to be determined as this unit gets underway. All you need to know right now is that you have 4 readings. So, if you're going to pick a text, then you're going to grab it. Lord of the Flies handy. Open it up. 208. 208 divided by 4. 200 divided by 4 is 58 divided by 4 is 252 pages every 4 or so days, according to this. Now, if that seems doable, then that might be a text that will work. Of course, if you open up Lord of the Flies and say like 52 pages of this, well, maybe Lord of the Flies isn't a great choice. So you will want to take your text and think, does this break into 4 readings that I think I can do? Does this push us towards some smaller text this year because of our pinched calendar, and we're definitely starting this a week later and ending it a week earlier than we would have normally liked? Yeah, it does. So pick a smaller text, unless you want to read, right? The choice is yours. That's what this unit is all about. So where are you going to put this choice? You're going to put this choice in this Google form here, where you write your name and the title of the text and the author of the text. If you're giving me all this choice, where do I start? Well, first things first, maybe just start with what you have around you. We are severely limited by continued social distancing, although it is getting looser this week. Still not going to recommend that you go anywhere to get a text. And if you do go to the high school library, you need to arrange that ahead of time. You have to arrange for a pickup. So it might make sense to just work with your family and find what's in your house already. All right, so that's the first thing. The second thing is a resource that will be linked that I'm going to head to now, which is a book finder. Find great teen books from the Young Adult Library Services Association. If we take a look at who they are a database of annual selected books and media lists awards. So first of all, it's helpful to just read some of what is out there. as awards. So, for example, Chinese Americans, Gay, Lesbian, Bisexual, and Transgender Roundtable, American Indian Library Association. If any of these peoples fascinates you, or you identify with them, or you want to know more about their experience, then possibly a book that wins that award would be a good choice. So we get back to the book finder. This is what will be linked in, so you can browse by awards. So you might need to learn a little bit more about some of these awards. But say you already know that you want to do a graphic novel, like that's kind of interesting to you, then you could filter by the Great Graphic Novels for Teens list and head up with some really good examples. Like, here's a good cross section of lots of things that might match. The story of Roberto Clemente, just a couple things that I see right there. That is late 20th century history. That is baseball. So if you're interested into baseball, something that has been kind of in the background of all the units that we studied this year, he's also Latin American, so some of those experiences that are you curious about maybe would go in there. And then he is still honored today in baseball with a service award. The Major League Baseball player who does the most service for his community earns the Roberto Clemente Award every year. So lots of themes that we've seen elsewhere in the class I'm seeing right there. What is going to be an issue is where can you get that? So you may also just want to search for a book that you have on your shelf and see if it's on here, to see if that's like a good match for a read, because it's been an award winner. You can also use this website by genre, genres that you're interested in. Maybe you want to go into nonfiction instead. So we've got biography over here, or animals I saw, or crime. I know so many folks are interested in crime. So these are all options. Okay. So giving you a couple days to do this, and the response in the Google form is due by Thursday. So Wednesday will be a really good day again for you to like think about this, write up your justification, and fill out the form. So while I'm assigning the form today, that's not what you should work on in class today. What you should work on in class today is researching what book do you want to read, or if you feel solid on that, or if you want to take a break from that at any point, of course, the Westmore card game is out there. So those are really your two big options for this lovely first day back. We're less than a month away. Okay, let's get to work. I'll start this unit.